People don't like being told what to do. However, sometimes they just need to be, because many adults still behave like an inept or an incompetent child. Teaching and showing can come, but in the moment, many times simply they just need to be told. The educating can come upon reflection, and this video is where the educating comes in. Now, one thing I've observed as I've moved around many industries, from blue collar to white collar, is that it is more acceptable these days to be passive aggressive in conveying responses. For me, it comes across as weak and insecure, showing that the person thinks that they hold some kind of insignificance. And this week's video, it's about becoming bold and confident in the way you convey a message, in the way you respond. Now, I came from the commercial construction industry. I spent 25 years in it, and I often use examples from that industry. However, I also experienced many other different working environments over the years and had almost 20 different jobs before I finished school at 18. None of them were professional or white collar, so it allowed me to observe the realness of people, warts and all. For about the past 10 years, I've meandered around white collar environments. And from my experience, it's where the essence of this video is more aimed at, in a generalistic kind of way. In the construction industry, clear and straightforward communication is just not preferred, it's essential. Things need to happen, and they need to happen now. Not only for safety reasons, but because dozens of trades and often hundreds of workers are working to tight deadlines in all kinds of weather circumstances and under quite unique conditions. So I'm not going to be all nice and ask someone, excuse me, do you mind moving away from there because it's incomplete and you could hurt yourself? Or I'm not going to be passive aggressive and say, oh, I just find it so fascinating how some people are completely oblivious to signs and safety. But hey, it's not like we all have enough paperwork and reports to fill out. Feel free to carry on and don't worry about inconveniencing the rest of us who understand basic instructions. No, it's a lot more abrasive than that. Hey, stop, move away from there right now, or you're going to seriously get hurt. And I don't have time to fill out paperwork or scrape you off the ground because you're too stupid to read a danger, do not enter sign. Now, I understand that different language is appropriate for different environments. The style of a drill sergeant from the military simply doesn't work in the running of a library, for instance. However, passive-aggressive language really doesn't suit anywhere. And whenever I do hear it, because of my background, I'm quick to call it out and expose the weak person because it's a bugbear of mine. Although I'm learning to bring it closer towards the middle, and that's what I'm going to get into soon. I found that when it's called out, the person almost always backpedals quicker than watching a bike race in reverse because they don't have substance and see provocability as confrontation. Often when I've called someone out, they have even started crying and making themselves a victim. If there was no option 3, I'd rather be abrasive and make things happen than to be weak and fake. I've learned that there is an in-between, an option 3, and that's what I'm going to share. So, how can you become more powerful in your communication to not only build certainty and confidence, but also increase your personal leadership? I'll run through the 7 points soon. However, before I do, I want to add this. A powerful response is about being direct and not rude, being humble and not arrogant, being bold and not vague. It's focusing on solutions rather than just problems. And importantly, it's about asserting yourself respectfully, standing firm on what you are communicating. Lastly, and very importantly, be okay that a person who lacks self-esteem and confidence will almost always receive you in the negative of those examples I just mentioned. In particular, rude and arrogant. That's their stuff. Unlike environments where passive-aggressive remarks might be common, even accepted, construction demands a more direct approach. And this ensures the instructions are understood, safety is maintained, and projects are completed efficiently. We measure ourselves on physical results, looking back at the end of the day and seeing what got done and then what needs to be done tomorrow. There's no hiding productivity in a spreadsheet or on phone calls. The language used in this field often reflects this need for directness, even if it comes across as abrasive at times. The communication is more upfront and might come across as harsh or confrontational. So reflecting on it, it's a no-nonsense, straightforward communication style. And it is often appreciated in environments like construction, where being clear and unambiguous is crucial. Now, does this language suit every other working environment? Of course not. HR departments will go into meltdown, and the percentage of people on antidepressants will dramatically increase. Kleenex stocks would go through the roof. So what I want to convey is an in-between. Bring one polarity of radical abruptness towards the center to meet this other polarity, the one of fake niceness and passive aggressiveness. In the middle, I aim to bridge them with confident and powerful responses. So let's explore the 7 examples of how typical passive-aggressive phrases can be transformed into the kind of direct and unambiguous language that resonates more powerfully and more authentically. Now, for those who are maybe thinking they're going to miss out, I'll also run through 6 industry examples as well, so I can make it more inclusive for everyone. HR just passed me a memo. So the opposite of passive-aggressive language would involve clear, direct, and assertive communication, which avoids hidden meanings or sarcasm. So let's get into the examples, which could be rephrased in a more direct and constructive manner. I'm going to firstly use the fake nice passive-aggressive example, then an abrasive one for context, and then aim to show in the middle what that powerful response sounds like. Example number 1 is project decision making. So in this scenario, a team member proposes a new approach to a project. Now, I've been in this situation more times than I've had a cooked breakfast, and I've seen it play out in every different way. Passive-aggressive responders would say, oh, go right ahead, do whatever you like. So the context for this is, we hear this when a manager or a co-worker doesn't believe in the team member's idea but doesn't want to confront it directly. The abrasive person might say, fine, do it your way. Let's see how that goes. And in this context, a person is frustrated with a suggestion and expresses skepticism about its success. Now, the powerful direct way would sound like, I trust your judgment, so please proceed as you see best and we will give feedback as it unfolds. And in this context, a manager or an owner or a colleague or whatever it may be wants to empower the team member, showing trust in their decision-making skills. So by nurturing this direct approach, it enabled me to build trust with the team and spend very little time in the day-to-day running of the business. I trusted them and they felt empowered to deliver. Example number 2. Team meeting discussions. We've all been in these, haven't we? So let's look at the scenario. A team member confidently presents a new strategy in a meeting. Now, I've employed almost 1,500 people over the years, and from 16 to 60 years old they were, and I can tell you I've had some pretty quirky and radical ideas. Some of the best coming from people who had the least experience. So I learnt to be less abrasive and more open. To this comment, a passive-aggressive person would say something like, well, you seem to have it all figured out, don't you? Now, this is when a colleague feels overshadowed or skeptical about the strategy, but doesn't want to openly challenge it. Remember what I said, low in confidence and weak on constitution. The abrasive person who likes to steal some power will turn around and say, looks like you got it all sorted out, don't you? Enlighten us then. Sounds more like a smart ass. So in this context, it's when a colleague is openly critical and challenges the person in a more confrontational manner. What does the direct response look like? Well, it looks like you've put some thought into this and have a plan. Can you please explain it to me before we move forward? And in this context, a colleague or a manager is genuinely interested in understanding the strategy and wants to engage in a constructive dialogue. Let's move on to example number 3. Feedback on ideas. So in this scenario, a team member shares a spontaneous idea during a brainstorming session. The passive-aggressive person says, you just say whatever you think, don't you? Context, the colleague is annoyed by the spontaneous nature of the idea but doesn't want to outright dismiss it. The abrasive person, so you just blurt out whatever's on your mind? Do you even think before opening your mouth? In that context, the colleague is visibly irritated by the idea and questions the thought process behind it in a very demeaning way. So it's a different kind of power struggle than the passive-aggressive person. The direct person, they could respond with something like, I appreciate your honesty. Let's discuss your thoughts openly so I can better understand why you're thinking that and how it relates to the current issue. So in this context, when a manager, owner, team leader, whatever it is, values open communication, and what they want to do is create a culture where ideas are discussed freely. Moving on, example number 4. What have we got? We've got offering assistance. So in the scenario, a team member seems to be struggling with a task. Now, don't tell me that you've never struggled or seen someone struggle to be getting something done. The passive-aggressive person. Wow, I'm just trying to help. In that context, the colleague offers help but feels rejected or unappreciated, expressing their frustration indirectly. Indirectly, the key word there. The abrasive person. I'm offering help here, take it or leave it. A little bit too direct in that context. So that's when the colleague is blunt in their offer of help, showing frustration at the perceived reluctance to accept assistance. And in the direct response, hey, I've got some free time. How can I help you? What is there you need assistance with? Here, the person is genuine and they want to help and assist the person, and they approach the situation with a sincere offer of help. Example number 5, responding to concerns. We all have concerns. Scenario, when you are asked about your well-being after seeming stressed or overwhelmed, the passive-aggressive person will respond, I'm fine, no need to fuss over me. In this context, the person wants to brush off the concern, but is actually feeling down. The abrasive person, I said I'm fine, seriously, cut it out. Don't make a bigger deal than what it actually is. This is when the person is irritated by the concern and wants to end the conversation quickly. They're lacking the tools to soften things over. Direct person, hey, I'm okay, thank you. I'm just processing at the moment. When or if I need something, or some assistance, whatever it may be, I'll let you know. And in this context, the person appreciates the concern but prefers to handle the situation independently. Moving on to example number 6, acknowledging expertise. So in this scenario, a team member suggests a solution on their specific expertise. And the passive-aggressive person responds, oh, I didn't realize you were an expert in this area. This person doubts the team member's expertise but doesn't want to challenge it openly. The abrasive person, so you're the expert now, go on, let's hear your grand plan. Once again, it's a power struggle. And this person is skeptical and confrontational about the team member's expertise. The direct person, who communicates and responds powerfully, they could say something like, it sounds like you have experience in this area. Let's hear your ideas and your perspective. So when this person or colleague acknowledges and values the team member's expertise, what they're doing is they're encouraging them to share their knowledge, their information. It opens up a bigger dialogue. Lastly, number 7, what do we got? Addressing forgetfulness. Someone repeatedly forgets important tasks or information, and the passive-aggressive person turns around and says, wow, you're really good at forgetting things, aren't you? In this context, the person is annoyed by the forgetfulness and masks their frustration with sarcasm. You see the common themes here. The abrasive person, forgetting stuff again. Listen, we don't get paid to remind you. So, hey, try to keep up, yeah? A little bit too over the top. So this is when the colleague is openly frustrated and critical about the repeated forgetfulness. Now, what does the powerful person do? It seems like this slipped your mind again. Let's find a way to keep track of it. So this is when a manager or team leader wants to address the issue constructively, focusing on solutions rather than criticism. So that's the end of the 7, and these rephrased versions aim to maintain a constructive and respectable tone, focusing on clear communication and collaboration rather than implying criticism or frustration. Clear and direct communication is crucial in many industries, as well as personal relationships. So although I spoke into the context of work and career, they can easily be applied in any environment. Now, I don't want to dive into personal relationships today, as I want to stay with the theme of work and business. So let's quickly look at how this approach could be beneficial in 6 other settings that I've used here, industry settings. The first one is healthcare. Direct communication can avoid misunderstandings and ensure patient safety. For example, instead of saying, "Do you think you might be able to take your medicine?" a healthcare provider could say, "Please take your medicine at 8 a.m. daily." In IT, information technology, to avoid confusion with troubleshooting, direct language is key. And this one's a simple one. So rather than sarcastically saying, maybe you could try rebooting the system, how many of us have heard that? An IT professional might turn around and say, "Please reboot the system now." And in education, teachers can provide unambiguous feedback by using direct language, such as replacing, you might want to study more for the next test with, "I recommend studying chapters 3 and 4 for the next exam." Hospitality. In customer service, clarity can improve guest experiences. So if you think you'll need anything else, becomes, "Let me know exactly what you would like to make it a more comfortable stay for you." Retail. So in retail, sales interactions benefit from straightforwardness. Turning, you could possibly find what you're looking for in the next aisle into the item you're looking for is aisle number 4. Corporate settings, lastly. So we go into corporate settings, one of my favorites. To reduce office politics and improve productivity, replace, we can possibly discuss your proposal at some point with, "Let's schedule a meeting on Tuesday to discuss your proposal." Now, in each of these examples, the direct approach removes ambiguity, encourages action, and sets the tone for a more honest and efficient communication environment. So, to wrap it all up, the transition from passive-aggressive to overly abrasive language to a more direct and clear communication style can enhance not just individual interactions, but entire workplace cultures. This approach goes on to create an environment of transparency, respect, and efficiency. It allows for genuine expression, understanding, and cutting through the noise of indirect or harsh communication that can lead to misunderstandings, conflicts, or all the other bullshit stratagems people employ. Taking this style of communication on does not mean discarding politeness or empathy. It's about striking a balance, being straightforward without being dismissive, being assertive without being aggressive. It's about understanding the context of adapting your communication accordingly, ensuring that your message is not only heard but also respected and acted upon. I've got a saying, be kind, but you don't have to be nice. Now, it doesn't mean you have to be mean, but sometimes we mix up nice with being a bit fake. So like anything we take on to learn, communication is a skill that can be learned and honed because it involves being aware of not just what you say, but how you say it. It's not just words, but it's also tonality and body language. So choosing to be direct and clear, you're going to be taken so much more seriously. You can go on to build better relationships on trust, create more collaborative and productive workplaces, and lead with confidence and certainty. So whether it's a high-stakes environment like a construction site or in the nuanced dynamics of a corporate office, the power of clear, direct, and respectful communication stands as somewhat of a universal tool for leadership and personal growth. So take these insights and apply them to your daily interactions, changing not just how you talk, but how you lead in every aspect of your life. Like I said, it's just not career. This can be adapted into all kinds of environments and domains. Lastly, take what you will,